Well, my name is Reynaldo Garcia. I work for the Department of Commerce. I would like to thank Pat for her generous offers and inviting us to be part of your community, the space community. Since as a result of export control reform, now the Department of Commerce would be involved in a larger set of equities than we used to be over the last 25 years. So this chart is a little bit of background. After the 1248 report was sent to Congress, the next year, Congress included in the DoD funding bill for FY13 an addendum that gave the president the authority to remove certain satellite and spacecraft components from the ITAR to the CCL. Then next year, on May 2014 of this year, we finalized the spacecraft rules and went into effect 45 days after for ICs, radiation-hardened components, technology and software, and 180 days, November 10th, for satellites and items. As you can see, prior to ECR reform, our equities in the space market was so far very limited, and now our equities almost double. Now, the question is, as a result of export control reform, what changed? What stayed in the ITAR? Well, usually items and spacecraft that were inherently military with applications that are military stayed on the ITAR. You know, you have nuclear detection satellites, you have missile tracking components, and associated ground equipment and parts and components for those. Services also remain on the ITAR. You used to ask for a TAA for satellite integration to the launch vehicle and launch failure investigations. The government believed at this point that those type of know-how technology shall remain under the USML control. And what is left is what was transferred to us at the Commerce Department, usually commercial satellites, scientific research type of spacecraft, and remote sensing applications, meaning, you know, for satellites for cable companies, planetary rovers, weather forecast, and the components and parts associated with those. A quick note in jurisdiction. As a part of the reform, we have been able to walk away from the old paradigm of the see-through rule on the ITAR. As you guys may be very well familiar with, in the old days, you could have a whole end item, a system, whether it was an aircraft or a satellite. But by the second that you included into that system a small ITAR component, it will flip the jurisdiction. And then you would need a TAA from the State Department and a DSP to ship. Now is no longer the case. You can have a commercial satellite that you can have a subassembly that may be ITAR, and you still stay on the jurisdiction of the Commerce Department on our licenses. However, if you decide to have a technical exchange meeting regarding that particular ITAR subassembly, part or component, you still need to go for TAA and a State Department license for that. The next bullet is very important and critical for most of the members in the audience. The space tourism type of training and technology is not going to be controlled either by the EAR or the ITAR. And what I mean by that is the space tourism experience. You know, just like in an airport, when you go into the aircraft, here is, you know, how the doors work, here are the vents, here's how you buckle your seat belt, the spacesuit. That kind of technology is not going to be a licensing activity. Also, satellites that have ping data coming back and forth for housekeeping purposes. As you are well aware, a satellite is orbiting the Earth, and there's a couple of ground stations, and it's basically pinging information back and forth between the spacecraft and Earth, saying, are you there? Yes, I'm there. Do you have enough fuel? Yes, here's my solar efficiency. That type of data, which is different than command and control and operation of the satellite, is also not subject to the EAR or the ITAR. Next chart is the anatomy of an export control classification number, or ECCCN. The reason I have this slide is to just give you a quick flavor, since many of you probably have never applied for a license at the Commerce Department, and this would be probably a foreign concept. So the first digit 9, that's for spacecraft. It goes from 0 to 9. The next group is A for N items, B test equipment, E technology. 5 is the 515s for satellites, and 15 is the category that used to belong, category 15 on the ITAR, is tracking the ITAR. Now, after doing that, the first thing that you need to do is to follow the order of review. What is that? Well, this is the hierarchy that you need to be following in order to get classified your commodity. For example, as you may remember, the ITAR is now a positive list. It has a lot of parameters and specific functions that are enumerated. And when you take your component, what you do is you verify that you are not, first of all, spacecraft specially designed for the examples that I provided, nuclear detection, spy satellites. If you're not there, okay, move on. Do you have any parameters exceeding the ones listed on the ITAR? If you're not captured under any of those, then you are transitioning over to the Commerce Department. At that point, then you're going to be reviewing the 600 series and the 515s. And if you're not get caught by any of those ECCN or categories, then you're going to move on to the rest of the CCL. And eventually, if you didn't get caught anywhere else, you are an ER99 item. ER99 means that you do not require a license to ship. Specially designed definition. This is quite extensive. I recommend you to go to the presentation. I have a lot of backups that I could not include as a matter of time constraints, but there's a lot of information that is going to be highly valuable to you. Pretty much, the specially designed definition is made out of two components. Paragraph A as in alpha, which basically capture almost anything under the sun. But then you have the B as in boy releases clauses, which basically it kicks you out of the ITAR and the EAR. The rules are very similar in the EAR and on the ITAR. They were harmonized to be equitative, and it takes a lot of the subjectivity away. Especially, I advise you to get intimately familiar with the paragraph B3. That's the paragraph that is going to be getting you released out of 600 series, ITAR, and the 515 series if you meet the criteria. Now, going back to the point that, you know, the government and their regulations, the government is now committed to proactively revise and review the regulations and keep up with technology. We want to hear from you. We want to push forward. We want you to succeed. And the government made great strides this year, getting a lot of things accomplished. And I want you to know that the regs are not written in stone. They are living documents from now on. We want to listen from you. We want your feedback. We want you to succeed. One of the channels that you have in the case of Spacecraft, it's the final rule, which is going to be effective in November 10th. So you have about a month to include any questions, any additional comments in terms of, hey, I thought that we should have included this technology, or this technology should have not included. Maybe it's an edit. Maybe it's a matter in your mind about semantics, and instead of cook, we should have said chef. The point is that you still have venues and vehicles to influence regulations. We are not working in a vacuum, and the government is very committed to help you to succeed. Also, here's another channel. You can send your comments and questions regarding export control reform to that email address. Our assistant secretary is having weekly telecons answering questions from the public. You're going to hear it straight from the horse's mouth. So that's another venue that you can express whether or not you believe that we're missing the point, or if we fell short of something, or we probably went overly zealous and probably controlled too many things. If your concerns and observations warrant discussion, we will escalate, and we will join the other agencies with equities in this export control arena, and we will try to advocate on your behalf. Again, we're open for business. We want to sit with you. If you want to sit with us and tell us what you guys believe would be beneficial in terms of changes to the regs or licensing questions in general, come on, sit down, talk to us. We are not working in a vacuum. We are committed to make you succeed, and we're in a partnership. The Department of Commerce is committed to help you thrive. These are links for useful tools, decision tree analysis, and checking them out, especially if you're a novice and you don't have a lot of experience dealing with commerce. This is a great resource chart. And here is our contact information. Thank you.